Aren't you tired of hearing about artificial intelligence? It seems like everybody's talking about it, right? What is it? What should I be doing with it? Artificial intelligence has changed the way we think, learn, work, and live, but it doesn't have to control everything.
No.
Right?
That's right.
That's right. So we're going to talk about that today. And we're not going to get into the conversation about, we're not experts or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just talking about use and
how we use it. Yeah.
And, how you can live and work well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
welcome listeners to Aren't You Tired Of, the podcast where we talk about things that we're tired of and what we can do to live and work well. My name is Mark Benton, and I'm here with my co-host,
Patty Johnson. Hi, everybody. We're
Yes.
here.
Yes, and this episode's a big one because, everybody right now is talking about artificial intelligence. It's the digital age, and it's the thing that's supposed to change everything. And depending on who you ask, it's either the greatest invention of our lifetime or it's the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
Patty, what do you think about artificial intelligence?
Well, I think as you said, Mark, we are not experts. We're not the experts on the trends, the whole thing. But I think what we talk about a lot, you and I have had how many, and my friends, et cetera, in all walks of life, how are you using it?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What's working? What's not working? And so I think my mental model, which is way too simplistic given all the potential of AI, is I think that I have an analyst, researcher, designer, creative person walking alongside me.
Yeah.
That is, I'm able to draw on, and I'm a frequent but casual user. So I use AI kind of all day long.
Yeah.
On a variety. If you looked at all of my chats, you'd think she's got some issues. But I am frequent user, casual user, and I think the list of ways I've used it is soup to nuts.
Yeah. Well, I think you're like many people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like any technology that starts out. It is okay until it becomes something, right? And we really know the use cases and how to use it and what does it mean.
Yeah.
Some people, like we said, are all in. Others want nothing to do with it. But most of us are somewhere probably in the middle, curious, excited. I've talked to people that, in the workplace, especially, they're worried about, AI and what it means for what they do.
Sure.
Each and every day. So, our focus in this episode, like I said, we're not convinced and we're not trying to convince you either way. Our focus is just to talk about it and the role that AI might play in your life to help you live and work well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I have a question for you that we should, start out on. And how are you currently using AI?
I could give you a lot of examples.
Yeah.
I will say, in general, I use, some of you are like, well, what are you using?
Yeah.
I use ChatGPT,
Okay.
Claude most of the time.
Yeah, that's my buddy. That's my buddy Claude.
Your buddy Claude.
Yeah.
Google AI
Okay.
for some things. So it kind of just depends on what the topic is that I think is better. But I use it for everything from, the list is long. I could go through and tell you all this stuff. But I think I'll say one thing that I use it for, that you and I should have both used together, and that is, our podcast.
Yep.
We are on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and a few other sources you might listen to podcasts. So Mark and I, then we always, about once a month, what's working? What topics are working? What are people listening to?
Yep.
And Claude gives us the most amazing package that if either of us did it, we would spend a day on it.
It would be a incredible time.
It would be
black hole of time.
But the cool thing is, of course, the analysis and the research, I have to provide some data to it.
Yeah.
But that's great. But what is interesting, the insights and recommendations it will give us, I think that has probably been surprising to me.
Yeah.
And very useful to us.
Yeah, it's been extremely useful. And just to build on that, to snowball off of that.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going. When we get that, analysis package on how the episodes are, trending and what some of those insights are, then what happens is I will go into some of the tools that I've used to help us generate, script flow or thinking about our social media, and then applied some of those things and asked it to give me even more tips. Or it has really helped me just in this whole podcast, endeavor and adventure that we've been on. I've just learned so much about social media and just the social presence. And AI has really helped me to get educated and to get some depth into, well, why would I do that? And what does all this mean? And so many buttons and right.
It's help you learn faster, which I think is one of the things, no matter what the topic, that's one of the great things is help you learn faster. I think the other thing, talk about insights that one of the things that came back from our big report was just based on topics and the little bit of data they have about our listeners was your listeners want to feel like they are having a conversation with a wise friend, learning and laughing.
Yes.
They do not want to feel that they are in a leadership training or they are reading LinkedIn.
Right.
And so that really stuck with me. I mean, you and I have quoted that so many times.
When we had our big jamboree, as we like to call it, podcast palooza, right? We were sitting there and we looked at that and it was almost like it was another human sitting there.
It was.
Hey, listen, the people that listen to you, this is what they expect. Yeah.
For sure.
Now, listeners, don't think that we've got some major, agent or some kind of tool that's, pulling your information and telling us exactly who you are. Like, evil scientists, that is not it at all. It's just giving us general, information that I think, to your point, it helps us to think faster, pivot quickly, and make good decisions, human-centered decisions.
Which, yes. And I have yet to, we can talk about, we should, and I think giving some examples.
Yeah.
I like hearing from other people, what they're doing, how they're using it. So we will cover those. I want to mention, get into some of those.
Yeah.
But I do think I've given, you could make a list of dozens and dozens of requests and things I have used AI to help with.
Yeah.
I have yet to find something that didn't require some human review. Sometimes it's accurate, sometimes it's not.
Right.
And I think that's very important. But I think, like in terms of work, has saved me not hours but days of time.
Oh my goodness! Yes.
You're pulling together some analysis, and you would be out searching, and it's creating it for you. It might not be perfect. It might get you 80. You're my mental assistant, researcher, analyzer, designer. Might not get you 100% there, but will get you 85% there, to the point you can take it and do something with it.
And that's why I think it's helped me to live and work well. And I'm not tired of artificial intelligence. I'm probably one of the people that at first I was skeptical, just because, if you're of a certain age, or it doesn't really matter what age you are, but when you're a little bit older, get a little wisdom on you. There was a time when I remember this movie came out called Artificial Intelligence, and it was about this little boy, right? That he was, in the shape of a human, but he was, an android or whatever. And as the family, aged, he stayed 8.
That's great.
Right. And so generations of the family had him, in the family. So that was like my first big thing around artificial intelligence. Right. And so it blew my mind. And then, at this point in life, 2026, cars should have been flying.
They should have been. The Jetsons told me.
Right. The Jetsons said it. They did. They said cars should have been flying. So that's not happening yet. But artificial intelligence at its core, I've used it, like you said, I summarize articles and notes, helps me to create documents.
Yeah.
I use it in the morning sometimes if like I've, been an offsite and I haven't checked my emails. I'll say, summarize my emails from this day to this day, tell me the most urgent things, and it'll put it right there for me. And
that's
it's interesting.
An example for you. I assume you have Copilot, right? It's built into your system.
That's what I use. Yes.
And I think, the conversations I've had is if you're in larger, more sophisticated organizations, you've got some form of your own AI in your system.
Yeah.
But for those people who are in either smaller businesses, entrepreneurs, or are working in, maybe in their community or whatever, then that's when you're relying on the more generic sources versus having something, that's tailored to you.
Yeah.
I also think it's funny you bring up the resistance because while we're not into trends or anything like that, it is, I do think in general, we can say that the older you get, broad brush, not all, there can be more resistance to new technology.
That's right.
So that's a fact. But also, how many, commencement speakers were booed when they started talking about AI and how, I think it's going to take all the jobs. And they're like, okay, we're graduating. But it was funny because I was having a conversation with, she's probably about 25 and she's interviewing. And I was asking her, well, how are you using AI to prepare for your interviews? Because in my mind, that's perfect, right? Okay, you're interviewing for a marketing manager job. Okay, tell me about this company. What's happening in that market? What are they doing right now on their social media? Give me a report on this company and tell me what I need to know. What are likely questions that I'm going to get? What are the questions that I should be asking? You just acquired this company. What are your plans? Or I see in your strategy or in your report, your whatever, and your report that you plan to get more into this new service line. How do you think that will affect your marketing? How do you plan? There's a million questions, right? You could you could be like you had a full briefing of everything about this company, about this position. And her reaction was, I've been trying to resist AI. I don't want to use it. And, my encouragement was you're putting yourself at a disadvantage if you don't in this situation.
That's right. I think leaning in and again, we don't have to go down a history lesson, but I have been in a position in organizations and sometimes I've been asked to speak about just a perspective on it. And I'm like, well, just think about this. Before there was the car, there was the horse and buggy, right? Then there was the car. Cars got faster, sleeker, all these things. There were math teachers. Then there were calculators. Didn't do away with math teachers, right? We still needed someone to teach, right? And so I just think with all of these different evolutions, it's something to get used to. People resisted it in their day, well, what's this thing on wheels? I like my horse, whatever. There's probably still some people out there that like their horse better than their car. But, I think I've used it even practically as I was just sitting here thinking, we're going to be going on vacation here in a couple of weeks and plan them a trip for me.
100%.
Now to your point, and this is the thing I think is really key. If you're out there, and you haven't started using it or you're just dabbling in it, you always need to have the human touch on it because it gave me a lot of things. But sometimes the AI gets a little tired. It can hallucinate and give you crazy things that you're like, we're not going to do that.
And you got to give it the boundaries. So as an example, we use it regularly to plan trips. But if you're going to New York, you need to tell them, okay, here are a few parameters, right? If we have, we want to go to these shows, we want to visit these museums. If we have a day, we're completely booked. One day, then we're going to want a slower start tomorrow.
Oh, that's great.
If we have, we prefer to do things that are walkable.
We luncheon at half past the noon hour, right? So
we
plan
prefer a late dinner. We also prefer a dinner that is not tapas. Don't take Jim Johnson to tapas. Didn't want to share.
He didn't do tapas.
He didn't want to do it.
Okay.
Prefer, in other words, create your parameters of what makes a perfect trip for you. The day we arrive,
that's right.
We don't want a lot of things. We just want a nice dinner out, whatever it is. Create your parameters and say, now plan this 5-day trip.
That's right.
And I'm going to arrive on Saturday at 2:00. And I'm going to leave on Thursday at 10 a.m. And it's not going to get it perfect, but it's incredible.
It'll save you time. Just think if you had to do all of that on your own,
research on your own,
and you're busy, and you have commitments and family and other things, you got to carve out time to do that. And so, in this case, what can help you live and work well is when you use, artificial intelligence to help speed up things for you, save you time,
give you suggestions within your parameters. Because, trying to put parameters in when you're looking at restaurants or you're looking at, we want to go to the latest shows that last less than 2 hours at the most, whatever it is, it just would take you hours to do it. I think that's an example.
It would.
We're giving a lot of personal examples because I feel like people's work life is a little bit, everybody's different.
If you're in work, depending on the tools you have access to, that you have access to, that it's just different.
Yeah.
But I think our listeners, they're using it, the mom, that is the CEO of the home, and he or her, I said mom, but one. He or her could be using, it to plan the schedule for the family and grocery shopping and just so many uses. At work, I think a lot of people and listeners, our intent is not to get into, the controversy around AI, but, at work, in many instances, you might work for companies that, they have initiatives around, we're going to, automate, 75% of our processes by X date.
Right.
And, and they have to come up with the technology. That's where I think if you're a listener and you're in that situation or you're expected to use, AI every day, that can be a little daunting if you don't have all the use cases and how to use it and what does it mean. One thing that has helped me a lot is I think about it as not like a personal, I do think about it as an assistant, but I think about it as the virtual coworker.
Well, same.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, just, how do you humanize it?
Right.
When in fact, because also I think the other reason that I like that analogy is your human coworker, your partner, designer, creator, they're not infallible.
Right.
They're going to give you things that aren't quite right. Or like as an example, if you are in the world we're in, if you're like, okay, I want to create a talent strategy for the Doodle Doo company.
Right.
And this is what we know about their strategy. And this is what we know about their marketplace.
Yeah.
And here are some of their talent, goals and objectives.
Yep.
And I'm going to give you, again, just like the trip, I'm going to give you all the parameters.
Right, the parameters.
Here's what I don't want.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have something that's going to be a good thought starter.
Right.
It might create a structure for you. It might, but if that's your area of expertise, like you and I might look at that and go, that's not workable. We got to change that.
I can't want it.
Or that's just not viable. That's not viable for them.
That's right.
And that's where you bring your expertise, but can help you accelerate it. So I think, that experimentation of trying and, the thing I've heard people say that's frustrating is they'll give it a request, but they get back something they don't really want. But it's like, I have not learned how to do an agent or anything yet, like the little mini program, but I want to.
Yeah.
But you gotta like, it's like, what are the specs? What do you want?
Right.
If you don't tell it that, then you're going to get back garbage, right?
Well, offline, we should talk about an agent because a couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to take a trip to Microsoft in Seattle, outside of Seattle, and learned a lot.
Yeah.
So that was really good. And so we could talk about that because I think if you make it more accessible and accessible, then it doesn't have to be such a big, hairy thing. So I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
What is one way you've used AI that surprised you? Like, I didn't think I'd ever use it for that. Or how I would use it. Yeah.
Right. I think that's funny. I use it for everything. I take pictures of things. What's this?
Yeah.
Where is this?
Yeah.
I use it all kind of pretty frequently throughout the whole day. I would say, we talked about the example of our podcast. I was most surprised at the level of insights, the insightful commentary just based on data.
Yep.
Which, so I felt like, that was really good. One thing that this is probably not really more creating as much as it is analyzing, but one thing that I did that I know I've told you about, but I had my dad answer all these questions before he passed away.
Yeah.
And so I had all these audio recordings of him.
Yeah.
And I had like 7 of them because I'd given him like 65 questions, right?
Oh, wow.
Tons of questions.
Wow.
So I found out that Claude was not able to convert audio into text.
Okay.
So I used Audible, turned it into text.
Oh, okay.
And then I used Claude to then say, I want to create a package for my family and I want these organized into categories in different parts of his life. Do not delete anything. That my
That's
first
right.
round, I
That's
learned
right.
it. They did delete some things.
That's
It's like,
right.
no.
Yeah.
Anything that's written there, I want to hit, do not clean anything up. I do not want any editing. I want his exact words. And so I have this now, this beautiful package of his kind of his life stories and
that's
all these different things. And
that's outstanding.
it's outstanding.
Yeah.
And I did have to do some cleanup on it.
Yeah.
They did have some names that were pretty wrong.
Yeah, wrong.
But
right.
I did some little you know.
That's very cool.
It's really cool. And that's an example of not, it's not really the creation. It is more of just the analysis and packaging.
You've created a very, very prized and special memory.
Right.
That would have taken you forever.
It would have taken me a very long time.
Yeah.
And I did some editing on it, but nothing like if I would have had to put all that together, would have taken me forever.
Yeah.
So that's a great.
And we have another episode where we talk about procrastination. Aren't you tired of procrastinating?
Let me tell you. I did procrastinate on that. It took me a few years to
Well, that's what I'm saying. But once you got it off the list, it was speedy when you used, some of the, AI tools. Well, for me, I will tell you, I use, AI a lot. And listeners, we're not getting endorsed for, using and calling out some of these tools, but I have used Claude and ChatGPT and even Copilot, and I give it a persona.
Yeah.
So I'll start off by saying, okay, you are this profession. You have this many years of experience. I need you to go out and, research this topic because I need you to provide me this. Yeah. Right. I need it concise. My voice is warm but direct. I need it concise. Give me a first draft. And then I'll look at it and edit it. And I said, and I haven't given you permission to change the drafts that we're going to create until I tell you to.
Yeah.
Go.
You have to say those back to parameters and so on.
And then go.
And then go. You know, and I love that. And I know someone who had been given, this is a very simple thing AI can do. Very simple.
Yeah.
But had been given feedback that he was too abrupt. In his emails, and was not, didn't come across as very abrupt and terse, and he wasn't. That was just his way. Yeah. So he started using AI to say, "Can you make my emails sound more partnering and more collaborative?"
Yep.
So it's really helped him. So that's a very minor example,
but that is a great example that I think it's a use case, right?
Yeah,
that really can help an individual that needs that in the moment, feedback. So one other quick question.
Yeah.
What's one thing you still won't trust AI to do?
I don't always trust accuracy. To me, I will trust if you give it the data, they can analyze the heck out of it. They can make recommendations. They can create something that doesn't exist.
Yep.
But I think I use Google AI a lot for things that I think I need facts. And so you have to be careful, as we've talked before on this, about how we're kind of a Disney family. I go to Disney a lot. Know a lot about Disney. So I asked Claude some pretty basic questions because I was already on there, and I had just basic questions of, okay, well, what's new since November? What's changed? What's been updated? And what's the latest on kind of their tier structure on attractions? I need to go into it, but just some basic data. Came back. Every bit of it was wrong. Well, I knew enough about Disney to know that's not right.
It's not right.
Not right.
Yeah.
So I would say I don't know that there's one specific thing. I would just say you always have to validate it. Like if I'm working on something for a client or on my board or whatever, I would never, ever view something that came back from AI as pretty much good to go.
As the gospel. The truth.
Yeah, exactly. So I think when you are looking for true facts, it's always, what is it, Reagan, trust but verify or whatever it is. Verify. Always go and, because sometimes you will get different answers from Claude. To ChatGPT, I still have both of them rolling. And so, or to Google AI. So you have to, there are times I don't trust that I'm always going to get 100%.
Yeah. I think that's good. I'll say this real quickly, that for me, And you know, when all of you hear this statement, you're going to be like, well, no, duh. But there may be some people that do. But I won't put any kind of information related to, you know, my accounts, social security numbers, you know, kind of that detail that like you keep highly confidential.
Never.
I don't, you know, even if I needed to, you know, run an analysis on my taxes I would never do that.
No.
Yeah, because I'm just not comfortable yet. I don't know that I ever would be.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
So that's interesting. Well, one of the things that we always like to do is talk about takeaways, right? And, you know, what's the one thing that we want listeners to, you know, believe, and do to live and work better? So as it relates to, you know, aren't you tired of hearing about AI?
Yeah.
What's your one takeaway for listeners?
I think a couple, and I think the biggest one is experiment, try.
Yeah.
If you are like a lot of you and I have laughed at, a lot of times people are using AI as kind of as Google search.
That's right. That's right.
You know, and I would say start upping your game.
Yeah.
Try more complex requests.
I love that.
It's very capable.
Yes.
More than
Quite
anything
capable.
you can. Right. And I also think don't be intimidated, because AI is everything from like these little small examples we've given all the way to transforming the work process at a, you know, multi-million-dollar global company.
Oh my gosh.
So it's
the same tool.
Yes.
Same tool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think what we're saying is don't be intimidated. Try, experiment. I also think like we've scratched the surface of how we're using it. Talk to your other friends. Who are other friends you have that are using AI? It's helping their life. It's good. You know, get out there, learn more, experiment, mess around with it, and try. That's kind of my summary.
I think that's great. What I would want listeners to take away and never forget, don't forget the human advantage.
Absolutely.
Right? There's things that AI can't replace, and it's important for us to remember that human judgment, it can't get to that. It's not human. Character.
Yes.
Empathy.
Values.
Wisdom, values, relationships, courage.
Yeah.
Discernment, you know, the nuance of details. These are uniquely human traits that AI cannot replicate. It just can't. And I won't get too philosophical at all, but like AI doesn't have a soul.
Yeah.
If you believe in that and what makes us the essence of who we are, it doesn't. So at the end of the day, we still have the upper hand.
Yes, I would agree. And I think, you know, as we've talked about accuracy, we're talking about having your own voice, your own, what you want. You're putting what the parameters are. And, you know, I don't think any of us know, where is this going to go?
That's
How far is it going to, you know, we could have debates about that.
Yeah.
But I think our encouragement is, it is, as you say, it is here.
That's right.
It is. We've gone from horse to car.
Right.
So experiment, try, and get out there.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I hope, listeners, we've reached the end of our time, but I hope that you're a little less tired of hearing about and thinking about artificial intelligence. You know, if you enjoyed this episode, we're going to ask you to leave a review. Maybe you use one of your AI tools to write us a great little review.
Yeah, there you go.
And we would love to hear more from you. And if you want to hear more of these episodes, you can just search Aren't Ya, Y-A, Tired Of. And we're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, and join our community on Instagram.
Yes.
AYTO_social. And I think that's it until next time.
Great. Y'all have a great week.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.